hour.
News 360 headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal.
EcoBank.
925 out of over 2,000 undocumented immigrants who were picked up by the Ghana Immigration Service deported, with processes underway to remove the rest.
Agric Ministry says food prices on the market will soon be reduced to reflect the cedi stability.
And also coming up, vehicular and human traffic improves in parts of Accra's Central Business District following the decongestion exercise embarked on by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly.
In business news, Chamber of Petroleum Consumers COPEC Ghana welcomes announcement of expected decline in transport fares and calls for full compliance.
And on the international front, Uganda passes law to restore military prosecutions of civilians. We're always happy to hear from you on your thoughts that we bring these stories to you. Let's hear them on our various social media platforms.
In our very first story, vehicular and human traffic has significantly improved in parts of Accra's Central Business District following the decongestion exercise embarked on by the new mayor of Accra. Pavement structures and petty traders blocking walkways and traffic have been cleared, making way for quick movements through the market for the first time in a long while. Safwa Boahene has more in this report.
A decongested Central Business District of Accra looking clean and healthy. For many, it is what they expect the city to be like. Vehicles and human traffic has improved significantly. At the break of dawn, the market district came alive, not with buyers and sellers, but with task forces executing the much-anticipated decongestion exercise led by the mayor of Accra. Previously clogged with unauthorized stalls and heavy foot traffic, the area now looks noticeably spacious and neat, allowing free passage for both pedestrians and vehicles for the first time in years. For the Accra mayor, this isn't a 9-day wonder.
People work in the night. They don't have people to take tickets from them, to guide them. They are petty thieves. But this task force and these revenue collectors will be here. If maybe 6 hours, they're going to run shifts. Like how is it going to run a 24-hour economy?
So for how long is this going to take today?
This is 2 weeks program.
2 weeks, so it's not just today?
No.
Some traders agree the transformation is needed.
Yeah, fine, pa. Feeling you good, pa.
What you may on air,
so. Me force bebre. Now we see for now free on cocoa bodo ba. Unya kwa kura na wetia because
we support the mayor. Things were congested before, but now it's neat and spacious. We were part of the problem too.
We are very interested. He's working well. We lack somebody like this in this country. We need to encourage those people in the street where they are selling. They need to give the way.
There used to be human traffic blocking access, but now people can reach us easily.
It might help in some ways, but authorities should support the displaced women who have nowhere else to go.
The exercise, which also saw the involvement of the Koliklote MCE, had him participating actively in the operation.
We are trying to make Accra look clean. If we see people selling in front of your shop on the pavement, well, we have a problem with you.
This isn't the first attempt to clear the market. Past efforts have brought little lasting change. Will the mayor's current plan finally turn things around for our congested markets? Safa Wine, TV3 News, Central Business.
Right, so if you listened closely to the story, the reporter Safo Abuahene actually ended by saying that this isn't the first time such a decongestion exercise has taken place. In fact, we're taking you as far back as 1991, when former President Jerry Rawlings was in power. And you could recall clearly that the exercise has been ongoing, regularly, and the problem remains the same. So in 1991, between 91 and 93, when former President Rawlings was in power, he attempted decongesting the capital city, the city center, specifically around where the yam sellers were. And the purpose was to ease pressure on public walkways and then also for hygiene purposes in the central business district. Fast forward to 2007, the AMA under the then mayor, Ni Okai, undertook a similar exercise to clear the central business district of and other informal markets and setups. The hawkers there were relocated to the Odona market near Circle, and the reason behind the 2007 decongestion exercise was to beautify the city ahead of the Ghana at 50 celebrations, primarily to impress our dignitaries and persons we had invited, and more importantly, to remove encroachers and other illegal persons who had overtaken our walkways. Come to 2009, the AMA and the National Coordination Accra Cleaning Institution took a similar exercise. The reason was because the then US President Barack Obama was expected in Ghana. So in and around areas like Spintex, Oxford Street, Circle, there was a massive exercise to rid all the individuals there who had occupied places illegally out of the place. And again, it was to beautify Accra ahead of President Obama's visit, and also to make sure that the VIPs that we had invited saw a better and a cleaner Accra. Well, 2010 in July, the AMA Land West partners, then under NDC government, partnered some private partners to undertake a cleaning exercise again around Novotel and Circle area. 1,200 female fruits and vegetable hawkers were cleared out from the place, and it was to make way for the $1.5 billion Octagon project, and then also to modernize traffic flow within the prime area of Accra. 2013, now we are coming close to the 2025. 2013, January, the then mayor, Ni Oko Vanderpoy, also decided to clear the Rawlings Park, the Makola and Oxford Street areas. Some traders were removed, most of them being market women, and the reason was to make sure that pavements were used by pedestrians and other people who were giving access or who had encroached that place were all taken away. 2021, Mayor Mohammed Ejaisowa. So if you follow, under previous NDC government, similar exercises have happened. Under MPP, they've also undertaken the same exercise. And the areas that were decongested remain the same. So this is 2013, Rawlings Park, Makola, Oxford Street. 2021, Rawlings Park, Makola Square, and similar areas in the past slides I showed to you. And it was again to decongest some illegal structures, kiosks. Over 600 kiosks were removed, and it was to clear illegal structures that had blocked parking ways and was causing human and vehicular traffic. So we come to 2022, the then mayor, Elizabeth Saki, decided to make sure that places that were affected in and around the Makola area was cleared to allow free movement of pedestrians and people who wanted to do business in and around the major central business district of Accra. Unfortunately, all these exercises, when it is happening, is fruitful, but when it ends, few weeks after, the people return. That is why in 2025, we are having a same story. We just have different actors playing their roles, but the story doesn't change. So we'll try and find out subsequently what is the plan in place to sustain this particular exercise. Now, we want to also find out what exactly is the reason why some of these exercises failed or did not, achieve their initial intended results. Clearly, you could tell that it was due to lack of relocation infrastructure for alternative markets, lack of proper punitive and forceful sanctions for individuals who were undertaking these exercises, and then there were short-lived results due to inconsistent enforcement. Also, there's poor quality or unattractive relocation sites, and economic disincentives in formal markets, low traffic, high cost, clearly. In fact, people who had already started reacting to today's activity said that the exercise was affecting especially trot drivers, because they think that when there is traffic congestion, that's when they can get their passengers fast. But if you're in your private car or you're someone who just wants to go through the place, it is such a nuisance and it's chaotic. So the reasons of why these decongestion exercises fail are many. Public and civil society backlash. There were people who said that they should do this with a human face or help people. You don't just go there and sack them, but then, you know, attach some human sentiments to it. But what is the end result? Let's go to the phone lines now and to Zoom, I should say, and speak to the public relations officer of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Gilbert Niankra. Mr. Niankra, good evening. Thank you for joining us on News 360.
Thank you very much for having me, and a good evening from the Mayor of the City of Accra, Honorable Michael Pakwalote, to your cherished youth.
Right. I'm sure you have been following our conversation here and would want to ask, first of all, why has this decongestion exercise become necessary?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to answer here. Just as Mayor has said, the main purpose for this exercise is to ensure that trading activities, especially on the streets and on the pavement, are cleared to ensure that there is that free flow of traffic and pedestrian. If you look at the control of caucus bylaw of the Assembly, it's quite clear that anything impeding traffic flow and vehicular movement is prohibited under the law. And that is why the Mayor is embarking on this. One other issue is to ensure that issues of sanitation is key on the agenda.
Right. And again, I'm sure that this isn't the first time that such an exercise has taken place. You are probably aware of that. What are the plans in place to sustain, at least, that now that we've cleared the people, we will keep the place as it is, as we've seen today?
Thank you very much. I was watching keenly with respect to the history you provided on decongestion exercise we've done over the years. And it's quite clear, if you look at this very exercise, the public support is there. Prior to this exercise, Mayor had met traders, had met members from the transport operators, representatives from UTA and traditional authorities, civil society, and the message is quite clear. They are calling on the Assembly to embark on this very decongestion exercise. Even transport operators threatening to embark on strike action because of the congestion. And so the public support is there, the stakeholder support is there, the political will is there, and so that is key for us as an assembly. That notwithstanding, with respect to sustainability, Mayor has stated categorically that he is introducing the 24-hour operational model where we'll have dedicated persons to deal with issues of sanitation, and then task force to ensure enforcement of this particular decongestion exercise. So areas that have been demarcated for no trading activities, we have our men stationed there. Aside that, we are also looking at ensuring that we come up with a rotational trading system where specific days will be blocked to allow traders to sell for longer hours and all that. So these are measures that we are putting in place to ensure that we sustain this particular decongestion exercise. Aside that, there is a larger plan to ensure that we expand the markets that we have within the city to be able to accommodate.
And briefly and finally, if you could be brief for me, are there alternative places that we are moving these traders to?
Of course, yes. If you look at on the streets is a no-go area, and for that one, if you are on the street, the Assembly is looking at coming up with this rotational trading system to allow them to trade 2 days within the week so that they will be able to make up for their losses. Aside that, we are also looking at ensuring that the pavements that are larger enough. One of the concerns is that you have a lot more of these traders displaying more of their products, and that takes a lot of the spaces. So we are looking at redemarcating these areas to be able to accommodate more of them as well.
Gilbert Ni Ankra, thank you for your time this evening. He is the Public Relations Officer of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly.
In more news tonight, 925 out of the 2,241 undocumented migrants that were picked up by the Ghana Immigration Service days ago have been successfully deported, with processes underway to deport the rest. The Ghana Immigration Service disclosed this 4 days after conducting an operation to remove these migrants from the streets of Accra. A report by Judith Brown.
Various interchanges where these immigrants normally beg for alms show that the exercise may have achieved its aim. Majority of the immigrants were nowhere to be found in areas like Circle and 37 Military Hospital. But what's the current status of those picked up? According to the service, some of these immigrants have been sent back to their countries, whilst others are still undergoing processing.
All the persons that we have in the holding center are non-Ghanaians. In total, we had 2,241, made up of 2,073 Nigerians, 138 Nigerians, then 28 Burkinabe, then Guinea, Conakry 1, Mali 1. We had a challenge of transporting them out. In fact, the transport company that we work with through the Niger embassy along the line failed to deliver on some of the goals that we gave them. But so far, we have about 925 who have been removed from the country, made up of 819 Nigerians and then 106 Nigerians. I'm sure by the close of day, we'll resolve those issues with the bus company and get the rest out.
The big question on the minds of many is whether this action will be sustainable. According to the head of public affairs at the service, Michael Amakwata, measures are underway to ensure illegal migration is brought down to the barest minimum.
Not denying the fact that the borders are porous, but then initially we all thought these persons are people who are coming in based on some difficulties in their home country. Then along the line, by our working intelligence, we realized that no, some facilitators or networks are behind these young ones on the streets who go to Sahel to bring them in and then put them on the streets to make money out of them from the begging, and to the extent that involves human trafficking and all, which are illegal or criminal activities. So then we decided to remove them, and then we put other measures in place that will curtail their coming in these numbers. I believe from Sunday, if you go around some of the spots we pick them up, the places are very bare. Yes. The Comptroller General of Immigration again has also given strict instructions to border patrol commanders to double their patrolling efforts, and also especially to engage the border community members.
Let me now give you a further breakdown of the figures. And out of the 2,241 beggars who have been deported, an overwhelming number, that over 90% of them are from Niger. That's 2,073 are from Niger, 138 are from Nigeria, 28 are from Burkina Faso, 1 from Guinea and 1 from Mali. And this exercise is going to continue, with the rest also being deported.
Still watching News 360 on TV3. Let's go on to some other stories now. The cedi is getting stronger, but food prices on the markets are not going down. The Agric Minister says the situation will soon change. For shoppers and traders, nothing has changed. Here's a report by Noble Crosby Annan.
The cedi is getting stronger, but if you're here in the market, you wouldn't know it. Food prices are still high, and shoppers are feeling the pinch. Despite what the numbers say, everyday Ghanaians are not feeling any relief yet.
Take Abdul, for instance, not his real name though. He came into the market thinking the stronger cedi would reflect in the price of rice. But, to his surprise, prices have remained unchanged.
How much should I add? You people should be reducing your prices.
We are selling old stocks, not new ones.
And traders say it's not that they don't want to reduce prices. It's because The goods they buy from suppliers haven't seen any reduction either.
Prices are at where they used to be. The suppliers say things are still expensive, so unless they finish selling, customers keep complaining.
For others, it's also about timing. Mariama says she bought her goods long before the cedi started gaining strength. So, it will take a few more months before any change is felt at the stall.
It will be very hard for them to reduce prices. I'm also a businesswoman. I've bought goods already. So do you expect me to reduce prices? It will take time.
Like a month or two, eh?
Like 2-3 months, yeah.
The Deputy Minister for Agriculture, John Dumelo, admits prices are yet to drop, but says there's hope for a change in the coming months.
We are hopeful that the prices will come down soon. Now, if you look at our farming structure, most of the farmers buy their inputs beginning of the season, and so when they are harvesting is when probably they will determine the price. And if you look at the cedi started gaining against the dollar a few months ago, and so we are very hopeful and optimistic that in the coming few months the prices will drop.
So in about how many months you expect the prices to come down?
Probably in a month or two.
While the economic indicators may paint a positive picture, here in the market, it's clear the ripple effect hasn't hit the ground. For many, hope is good, but impact is better. Noble Crosby and TV3 News, Accra.
In more news tonight, the death toll from Sunday evening downpour has risen to 4. Deputy Director General of Protocol and Relief of the National Disaster Management Organization, Samuel Abuaji, confirmed that over 3,000 persons have been displaced following the heavy rainstorm that hit Accra on Sunday, May 18. In an interview on 3FM, he said NADMO has reaffirmed its commitment to ensuring that affected persons are given the needed support items. He, however, urged Ghanaians to remain alert and to avoid flood-prone areas during and after heavy rainfall as part of efforts to ensure public safety. Meanwhile, the 4-year-old girl who was swept away by the current at Nanakrum, a suburb of Accra, hit hard by the flood waters during Sunday evening downpour, has been found dead. She has since been buried according to Islamic tradition.
Now, the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission has started felling earmarked trees along the Hacho-Kwabenya Road to protect electricity cables from damage. As the rains set in, the Commission has secured approval from the Forestry Commission Division to undertake the exercise. This is despite concerns raised by environmental advocacy groups about the potential depletion of the Green Corridor.
8 mahogany and 6 lucina trees have been earmarked to be cut down on the Atomic Kwabenya Road in the Ga East municipality. In the past, thunderstorms uprooted some of the trees that have spanned over 5 decades, causing destruction of high-tension cables that cost the Electricity Company of Ghana huge sums to repair. There are records of vehicles that have been struck by some falling trees. On Tuesday, officials of the Atomic Energy Commission and the ECG started cutting branches of the earmarked trees to safeguard the cables. A road diversion meant to control traffic along the 9-kilometer stretch has not been done yet, but officials of GAEC provided assistance at the point of operation. Despite opposition by some environmental organizations, the Commission says the exercise is a must.
Last year, when there was a thunderstorm, we had about 2 of the trees uprooting and have fallen to the main road. So we realized that some of them are becoming a danger to the public. Some of the trees are also affecting ECG's lines, the pylons. So ECG themselves, also in partnership with us and Forestry Commission, have also earmarked some of the trees that are being a danger to the ECG lines. And those ones as well too have to be removed and replaced with less danger ones. And you know, we started the rainy season and the storms are definitely going to come. And you do not want surprises, and so we have to do the right thing.
The earmarked trees will be replaced with less dangerous ones.
With the guidance of the Forestry Commission, some trees were earmarked or marked for removal. It's not just removal, but it will be replaced, but replaced with less harmful trees, so that these trees, as beautiful as they are, do not become a danger to the general public.
Environmental advocacy group Arocha Ghana has condemned the exercise, saying it will deplete the green cover at the area.
We did some assessments along that stretch and realized that because there are no drainages on the side of the road at that particular stretch, you have the water collecting under the root system, weakening the root system, and letting the trees fall when there's a little bit of windy activity in that area. So I think that this action is really not necessary.
GAEC has faulted the position of Arocha Ghana.
Ghana Atomic Energy Commission has no interest in deforestation or cutting down trees, not at all. If you come into our environment here, if I'm not mistaken, with the whole Ghana East, we are the most green area. Aside that, we are also researchers and research into trees and plants as well. I think they've gotten it wrong. We'll try and reach out to them to explain things to them so they understand that this is about life and death.
The cost of the tree felling exercise will be borne by the Electricity Company of Ghana, whose transmission cables are currently under threat. Some nature lovers have also questioned the intended tree cutting exercise, suggesting the option of diverting the ECG cables. Christian Yale, TV3 News, Kwabenya.
Let's now go to the courts, where lawyers of the former board chair of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund have told the Accra High Court their client, Professor Christopher Ameyaw-Ekumfi, was rushed to the emergency ward on Tuesday morning. Lead counsel Duke Aaron Sasu was responding to Justice Comfort Tasiame's query regarding Professor Ekumfi's absence, whose plea was scheduled to be taken today. A report by Lord Idoasari.
Professor Christopher Ameyaw-Ekumfi and the former CEO of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, Solomon Asamoah, have each been charged with 3 offences, including 1 count of conspiracy to commit crime, causing financial loss to the state, and intentional dissipation of public funds in relation to the $2 million Accra SkyTrain project, which was never executed. When the case was called on Tuesday, Duke Aaron Sasu pleaded for a brief adjournment from the court, and the prosecution saw that they would produce the former board chair by Friday for his plea to be taken, adding that their client had been rushed to the emergency ward at dawn today. The presiding judge, who appeared surprised at the development, noted that it seems Professor Ameyaw-Ekumfi is always ill on the day of the hearing of his case. Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Remsai agreed with the observation by the judge and said they will wait till Friday for the defense lawyers to bring the accused person. Justice Tasiame then adjourned the case to Monday, May 26, for the plea of the second accused to be taken.
Well, the former Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, Solomon Asamoah, is yet to meet his bail conditions and so is presently still in the custody of the police. His lawyers, however, indicate that by close of today, he should be able to have met those bail conditions and then be subsequently released. We are back in court on May 26, which is next week Monday, to continue the proceedings. Lord Idoasari, TV3 News, Accra.
The Venture Capital Trust Fund launched its landmark impact report of over 359 million Ghana cedis investment as part of the 20-year celebration in Ghana's SME sector. With a leverage of 2 billion Ghana cedis from investors and creation of over 28,000 jobs, the fund is underscoring its pivotal role in shaping the country's venture capital ecosystem.
It was a moment of reflection and a projection at the Venture Capital Trust Fund head office in Accra, where journalists gathered for a media roundtable centered on the Trust Fund's 20-year impact report. Since its establishment in 2004, the Venture Capital Trust Fund has played a major role in investment, with over 359 million Ghana cedis in 14 venture funds, supporting 77 portfolio companies across critical sectors like agriculture, healthcare, education and manufacturing. The report shows a catalyzed amount of more than 2 billion Ghana cedis in additional funding from other investors. Key outcomes shared include the creation of nearly 28,500 jobs, 46.9 million cedis paid in taxes by portfolio companies, and a contribution to 14 out of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. CEO of the Venture Capital Trust Fund is Michael Abbey.
Throughout the journey, 20 years, of course, of resilience,
20 years of commitment to the cause of transforming Ghana's economic journey or landscape, 20 years of meaningful partnership. The stories are varied. Experiences from founders or entrepreneurs, lived experiences with fund managers, all together including other ecosystem players and actors, working to produce this outcome we have, which we are celebrating today after 20 years of existence.
General Manager of the fund, Percival Oforiampoma, shared the goals of the company.
Government gave us to do venture capital is ongoing. We've worked for 20 years. We've achieved certain things. That includes creating about 30,000 jobs. That includes about mobilizing 2 billion Ghana cedis for SMEs investments. That includes about funding 14 funds and about 77 companies, many of them household names that we already know. We've done a lot in our journey. We've also created a lot of structures in the ecosystem that didn't exist at the beginning when we started. And because of that, we have achieved some things, but there's a lot we can also do.
In more news tonight, there is renewed tension between the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana, CLOGSAG, and the Registrar of the Births and Deaths Registry. The association's national leadership is not taking lightly the transfer of some 30 CLOGSAG members. Executive Secretary of CLOGSAG, Isaac Bampoado, has been speaking to our Labour correspondent, Daniel Opoku.
Earlier this year, CLOGSAG called for the removal of the registrar, citing concerns over his qualification to lead the institution. That demand sparked a nationwide strike that lasted over 2 months. The strike was eventually called off following an appeal by the Labour, Jobs and Employment Minister, Dr. Rashid Purple. But just 3 months, CLOGSAG says it has learned that the registrar has begun transferring its members, 30 so far.
He's gone ahead and now issued transfers and postings to certain staff at the Births and Deaths Registry. He has displayed his lack of knowledge of the workings of the civil service. He has exposed himself. You don't have the right to transfer anybody from one service to another service. There are 2 different institutions. He cannot do that. Postings and transfers, even in the civil service, must be done with the collaboration of the chief director. He doesn't know these things. So clearly, it's an illegality. And we've asked our members, nobody should move. He can't do anything to anybody.
Executive Secretary Isaac Bampoado is warning that if the transfers are not reversed, the association will not hesitate to act.
He hasn't got that right, that authority to transfer them. There are rules and regulations in the civil service and the local government service. Or it's victimization. Those people that he perceives to have been more involved in the strike action, he is victimizing them, which is even against the labor laws, both legal and with the head of service and the head of local government service.
You're watching News 360 live from the News Hub here at Adesawikanda. We have business news coming up shortly. Do stay with us.
The business segment is brought to you by MTN.
And that's our cue for business. Michael Ogbodu joins us in studio. Hello, Michael.
Hi, people.
Hi. So we know that there is the interest in the public that transport fares are reducing. Is that the case?
Exactly. And COPEC is happy about it, but they also want the ride-hailing apps to follow suit.
Oh, yeah, the Yangos and Ubers. Okay.
True. Hello there, good evening, and welcome to the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Ogbodu. Now, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana, COPEC, has welcomed the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU's announcement of a reduction in transport fares. However, it is calling for full compliance across the industry, particularly from ride-hailing service providers.
The forum aid and investment beyond traditional sectors. The European Union unveiled the Better Farming Initiative in northern Ghana to boost the transition towards a sustainable and climate-resilient agriculture. With 19.5 million euros, the initiative focuses on shea, soya, vegetables, and beekeeping value chains. The EU, among other initiatives, also unveiled the Green, Digital, and Inclusive Private Sector Development to foster a greener, digitalized, and inclusive private sector with 17.3 million euros, focusing on northern Ghana. In his keynote address, President Mahama emphasized Ghana's readiness to pivot toward innovative sectors.
The African Continental Free Trade Agreement opens up opportunities to reach a market of 1.3 billion people on the African continent with a combined GDP of more than $3 trillion. I invite EU investors to explore opportunities in the following areas. 1, in agro-industrial zones, integrated value chains for cocoa, cashew, shea nuts, spices and ginger, and vegetables, where EU expertise in food safety standards and packaging can add immediate value to Ghana's products.
EU Deputy Director General for International Partnerships, Miriam Ferran, underscored the urgency of collaboration in critical sectors.
We are ready to support with 135 million the development of NetCo as well as expanding the distribution network in the north of the country. Again, one of the projects we see as game changer.
The forum was themed Fostering Investment in High Growth Potential Value Chains under the EU Global Gateway Strategy.
So that story you just watched was President John Dramani Mahama urging donors, investors, and industry leaders to harness the untapped potential of key value chains to drive sustainable and inclusive economic growth. We'll take you back to our earlier story on the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana urging ride-hailing apps to follow suit in the announcement of a reduction in transport fares.
The General Secretary of the GPRTU, Alhaji Abbas Ibrahim Moro, confirmed that members of the union have been directed to reduce transport fares by 15% effective Saturday, 24th May 2025. The decision follows a meeting between the union's national executives and the Minister of Transport. Fuel prices have dropped 6 consecutive times this year, with some stations such as Star Oil selling petrol at around 12 cedis 45 pesos per litre, offering some relief to transport operators. In a related development, the Abosokai Spare Parts Dealers Association has also announced plans to reduce prices, a move that could further ease operational costs within the transport sector. Speaking to 3 Business, Executive Secretary of COPEC, Duncan Amwa, described the developments as encouraging.
What that means is that the cost of fuel going down has not been a fluke. People are beginning to see the very real impact that we expected to have and which we are having today. So for me, I say thumbs up to the transport operators. We are not done yet. Indications are that we could still make some gains on the cedi. We could still see the fuel price decline further in the coming days. If we hit 10, they should be rest assured we'll come back again asking for more reductions.
He also urged ride-hailing platforms to follow suit so that consumers across the board can benefit from the sustained drop in fuel prices.
We would also expect the online drivers, Yango, Uber, and everybody else, not to pretend they have not seen the wave of positivity blowing across the length and breadth of the country. We would want to see them also decline on their rates to commuters so that everybody can at least feel some relief from what we have witnessed since January 2025.
Now, business ties between Ghana and China are deepening with renewed interest in key sectors such as construction, renewable energy, and steel engineering. A 22-member Chinese business delegation from Legon Cities is in Accra exploring investment opportunities as part of an international market expansion initiative.
Business ties between Ghana and China took center stage in Accra as 22 companies from Legon Cities in China met with Ghanaian stakeholders for a high-level business engagement session as part of its international market expansion initiative. The session, organized by the Ghana-China Consortium, featured investment presentations spanning sectors such as construction, electronics, renewable energy and mining equipment, valves and steel engineering. Chairman and CEO of the Legon City delegation, Fan Ling Ding, highlighted the motivation for this investment and sectors they are most interested in.
Process set up like a bridge for the business between city to city. Accra, Tama, Kumasi, maybe Takoradi, around those area. Like including so many business, like especially is the agriculture.
Presiding member of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Ziad Musa, believes this is a unique opportunity to position Accra as a preferred investment hub.
I think it means a lot in terms of development, in terms of employment, in terms of local collaboration. Because if you look at the Chinese model, they are looking at a model where we are not looking at enriching people, but we are looking at making sustainability for the lives of every person in their country to be well to do.
President of the Global Investments Limited, Mike Wong, outlined his expectations for the partnership.
I see Ghana has lots of opportunity. I came here last year. I visited here, Kumasi, Accra. I found out that there's so much opportunity here we can develop together. I'm from actually Canada, but I'm Chinese Canadian. So I came here, visited a friend, and then found out so much opportunity.
Traditional leaders from the Ghana state also graced the event with hope that this engagement will spark investments that generate jobs and transfer skills to the Ghanaian youth.
The Chinese people are doing well. You know that if you can't and you have a people who can do more, you have to have a partnership with them, and then your country also must be developed. In Ghana, we need a good development that we want to be like the Chinese people. Then we have to have a good partnership with them, and then we try our best, and then we see that if the country and the youth are coming, they can be able to do better.
We'll bring you updates now from the currency and the commodities market. And that'll be all for the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. Up next is sports.
Segment here on News 360 with me, Oreku Ampofo. After eye-catching displays and high-profile signings, Legon Cities were relegated from the Ghana Premier League on Monday afternoon following a 4-1 defeat to Nations FC. My colleague Mutalaya Kubu provides the genesis to how the club's bold dreams and ambitions failed to materialize.
What began as a bold new chapter filled with promise has ultimately unraveled. In 2019, All Stars was taken over by new owners and rebranded as Legon Cities. The club relocated from Wa to Accra, aiming to establish a modern football brand. Legon Cities generated significant buzz with the acquisition of high-profile Ghanaian players such as Asamoah Gyan, Fatao Dauda, and Jonah Tukwe. They injected fresh energy into the Ghana Premier League, turning heads with eye-catching graphics and social media content. Pre-match concerts featuring artists like Shatawale, Wendy Shea, and Medical, creating a vibrant fusion of sport and entertainment. Their stylish branding, including a sleek team bus and star-studded lineup, gave fans renewed hope in local football. Even Asamoah Gyan was drawn in by what looked like a game-changing project.
They have a project, they have an ambition, they want to do something, and me being part of it, I think I'm also happy to be part of it. Nobody knows what is going to happen, but everything will depend on the team. I think the management are doing extremely well. They are doing their job. We the players, we also make sure we do our job on the field, and it's a collective thing. It's not only about the players. It's all about the whole team, the management. Everybody has to get involved in what we are doing so we can have a success. So because if the players are not happy, I don't think there will be any success.
What started as a promising new chapter soon began to fall apart. Asamoah Gyan featured in 6 matches during the 2020-21 season, where Legon Cities finished a disappointing 13th. What followed was a cycle of managerial and squad changes across subsequent seasons. The club saw coaches like Bashir Hayford, Maxwell Konedu, and Pakwesi Fabian take turns at the helm. Over the last 5 seasons, their best finish came in 2022-23 when they placed 9th. Since then, it's been a downward spiral, with a 15th place finish last season narrowly keeping them above the relegation zone. The 2024-25 campaign started with renewed optimism, but the lack of experience quickly became evident as results turned sour early on. The club rotated through 3 coaches, Pakwesi Fabian, Yahweh Champong, and Bashiru TJ, before finally being relegated following a 4-1 defeat to Nations FC. Assistant coach Adnan admitted that inexperience has been the Achilles heel this season.
If you look at Legon Cities from the beginning of the season, we have a lot of young chaps in the team without experienced players in the Premier League, up to 5. And if you have a young team like that, it takes time to gel up. But from match day 13, we started picking up the pieces together.
With the team now heading to Division 1, the owners would no doubt be deeply concerned. What once looked like a promising and innovative project has completely collapsed, with any potential rebuild set to take place in Zone 1 of Ghana's second-tier football division.
Now, ahead of Wednesday night's Europa League final, Tottenham Hotspur head coach Ange Postecoglou has downplayed talks of his side having an advantage over Manchester United. Spurs have beaten Manchester United on 3 occasions this season, giving the London-based club the belief to end their 17-year trophy drought. Meanwhile, Manchester United head coach Ruben Amorim has also vowed to prove himself to the Red Devils faithful after a torrid first season.
Final, and you know that those kind of things aren't important. I mean, if we had have lost all 3 games, your question probably would be, do you feel the pressure because you can't beat them? So what I do know is, and I've been in this situation a few times in my careers in the big games, even your form going into it, even if you've got terrible form, and there's been plenty of competitions where you go into it terrible, it doesn't matter. What matters is how the players cope with the occasion tomorrow, how they cope with understanding the importance of the game from both clubs. You just don't know how players will react to such a big occasion, and you know, my role in that is to try and prepare the players in the best possible way, and also to prepare the players for Manchester United to be at their best. That's what you have to prepare for.
And I think people see what we are trying to do. I think people see that sometimes I'm thinking more in the club than in myself. People understand, especially the board, understand that we had a lot of issues that in the context is really hard. So I don't know how to explain. I don't know how to explain how the fans like me in this moment. So it's hard to explain. I will try to prove myself to the fans, to the board, but I don't have an explanation for you.
A really big game on Wednesday night, and we'll be building up to that one on our social media handles at 3SportsGH. My name is Ori Kwampofo, and that's how we wrap up the sports segment here on News 360.
Tonight in this segment, in line with current digital trends, the Ghana Tourism Authority has announced plans to leverage influencer marketing to achieve its annual targets. Speaking at a news conference, Deputy Director of the GTA Corporate Affairs, Kofi Atta-Kakrakusi, emphasized that the authority will harness the power of influencer engagement as part of its broader digital innovation strategy.
Domestic tourism in Ghana has experienced steady growth over the past few years. As part of ongoing efforts to revive and strengthen the tourism industry, the Ghana Tourism Authority (GTA) has introduced a domestic and regional tourism program. The authority anticipates welcoming 2.5 million local and international visitors during the upcoming festive season. Speaking at a news conference, Deputy Director of Corporate Affairs, Kofi Atta-Kakrakusi, stated that the authority will implement a range of strategies and policies aimed at promoting domestic tourism. These initiatives are expected to boost local and international arrivals as well as increase tourism revenue.
We as an authority, we are looking forward to improve our digital marketing influencer engagement so that we can reap the benefits that comes with it. If you look at the tourism industry, it's all about promotions and marketing. And a lot of our work that we do is about promotions and marketing to be able to get more of diaspora and tourist visitors into the country. Once they come into the country, we get the needed advantage also that comes. Of course, we have competitive advantage over all others, but of course we need to do a lot more to be able to improve on our influencer marketing and digital marketing, and then our engagements with these influencers.
That's for the segment. It's now time for international news.
Uganda's parliament on Tuesday passed an amended law that permits military tribunals to try civilians, prompting protests from the opposition, who said the move violated a Supreme Court ruling in January that banned such trials. The practice in use for the last 2 decades has long been criticized by opposition politicians and rights campaigners who accuse the government of using court-martial to silence opponents, which it denies. In a post on the X platform, Parliament said the legislation had been passed. The head of the military praised the Speaker of Parliament and government lawmakers for passing the bill.
And that's how we bring the bulletin to an end. Thank you so much for watching. I am Martin Aseidu.
And I am Portia. Gabor, do join the team from Agenda at 9 p.m. as well as 10 p.m. There's Ghana Tonight with Alfred Okanse. Good evening.